Need extra money for college? ISL Education Lending Scholarship Program provides $1,000 for college expenses. Registration is easy and no essay is required. Visit www.iowastudentloan.org/register to learn more. The scholarship is open to Iowa residents who are in high school and college students, as well as parents of those students. Register by November 30th for your chance at one of the 45 awards at www.iowastudentloan.org/register.
The holidays start here at Baker's with a variety of options to celebrate traditions old and new. Whether you're making a traditional roasted turkey or spicy turkey tacos, your go-to shrimp cocktail, or your first Cajun risotto, Baker's has all the freshest ingredients to embrace your traditions. Baker's, fresh for everyone.
Choose from a great selection of digital coupons and use them up to 5 times in one transaction. Check our app for details. Baker's, fresh for everyone.
On the other side of the Iberian FM phone-in theme, I'll also play you a little video which tees up today's subject, which is like, why can't we just talk to each other without losing our proverbial? Good question, Lord Gilchrist. Are you ready for Europe's biggest phone-in? Well, it is in a way. I mean, you know, we got, we're into the tens of people here. No other phone-in calls itself Europe's phone-in. So technically, we are taking a big liberty. But actually, I think presenting a statement of fact there. But it's no longer Europe's biggest phone-in. We're not framing it quite like that. You're looking at and listening to the Iberian FM phone-in. You're most welcome to call in on 913-590-303 as we hang out this morning on the Iberian FM phone-in. And consider this. Let me see if I can share this video with you, which I thought I'd downloaded. Oh, here we go. Calling out conversational cancel culture. So this was on the mind of dear Ancient Mariner. Hello, sailor. And this is what was on his mind yesterday he sent to me, which tees up our conversation today. And I think, Owen, you might be joining me for this. Check this out, everybody.
Hi, good morning. I think one of the issues we face with public debate on topics relating to geopolitics, relating specifically to Ukraine, but to a whole raft of issues, is that it's not really possible to entertain two sides of a discussion. People have evolved in the recent past into having hardened, immutable views, such that when they're confronted with an alternative approach, whether valid or easily dismissed, they don't welcome it, they don't entertain it, perhaps most disturbingly, they don't even listen to it. This is the problem. The problem is not the underlying issue. The problem is the collapse in reasoned argument, interest or reliance on factual evidence, and a willingness to acknowledge that we live in an imperfect world and sometimes people disagree with us. Doesn't matter whether they're right or whether they're wrong. What does matter is that we show respect for their opinions. Unfortunately, that's a deeply unfashionable approach.
Well, is it deeply unfashionable? Can we bring it back into fashion here? If you want to join me on the screen, the link is in the chat now. I thought Owen might be doing that. Thank you for your compliments for the last segment with Bruce. Great show. Cheers, Jim. And have a great day, everyone. Maybe people are moseying into the world on this Freedom and Liberation Day here in Portugal and wandering about towns and cities and villages across the land. I still think it's a bit early, but you may well be better off here hanging out and having a chat in honor, really, in many ways, of the principles that the Portuguese people struggled for against dictatorship. And then on this day, the 25th of April, 1974, overthrew a dictatorial regime and brought about a more democratic government over the decades Interestingly, I showed an image earlier on. Some Portuguese people feel that the promise of the Carnation Revolution hasn't been fully delivered, and there is a political cynicism of this kind. But what better time as we approach the 50th anniversary to really look at what's been achieved with our Portuguese brothers and sisters. The promise, what's been delivered, what's possible in years to come. And there are the rodents nibbling at the roots of the red carnation there, a little meme that I saw. Oh, forgot to share the dad jokes and the visual meme. We still might do that before we finish on the Iberian FM phone-in today. But that's a bit of context for you there. And the Ancient Mariner talking to us there about how some of the old factors or principles of engaging with people seem a bit old-fashioned now. Things like facts. That's a tricky one, is it not? And the truth. I don't think he said that. I don't think he went into that super controversial territory. But just the ability for people to talk to each other about the ideas and stick maybe to the ideas rather than getting personal. I think that was part of the thrust of his and gist of his conversation there as well. So Buddy saying, ciao, ciao. Good luck to you, Buddy. Thanks for today. Well, it's been an amazing time talking to Bruce and being able to hang out with everybody on this holiday day. I know there are noticeably more people here this morning. And so thank you all for being here and chatting about the Carnation Revolution. What I didn't do, and while we're waiting for you to respond to the idea that we can't just have a flipping conversation these days without someone losing their rag or cancelling you. And it's happened to me. I have had, relation. It's a bit like sound like Bill Clinton now. I have had relations with people. Relationships. It doesn't sound any better, does it? I have communicated with people who are Portugal bound, and we've appeared to be getting on really nicely. And then, lo and behold, I post something up, which I believe is my right to do so on Facebook. That they didn't like the cut of my jib and described it, I think, in this notable example as a right-wing hate meme. It was a cartoon, for goodness sake, and I thought it made a good point. And I'd been very happy to talk about my so-called right-wing hate meme. That person has had nothing to do with me ever since. I don't think I'm an especially vicious or difficult person to deal with. I think I'm fairly open and generous in conversation, but it was just too much for that person. I don't really want to live in a world like that. My door is still open to that person. And I felt saddened by their decision to treat me like that. Although I do understand it and respect it. Of course, they must do what they feel is right. But I just thought, I don't really want too much more of that in the world that I'm living in and the one that I pass on to my kids. I'd like my kids to be able to disagree with people respectfully, lawfully, legally, and have a chat about it, for goodness sake. Okay, nuances, says Suze, are sometimes lost in texting. That's so true, isn't it? And that is part of the problem with social media. I text some brilliant and dry, funny things that are completely lost without the vocal delivery. I can hear your voice, though, when I'm reading your memes, Suze, and sometimes I just say stupid stuff. And don't we all, and there's another thing, don't we all have the right to make mistakes and mess up in public and apologize and move on rather than being forever known as that person who got cancelled for that silly thing they said? For goodness sake, come on, people. Owen, are you ready? Would you like to join me on the screen? No, he's not ready just yet. Give me... Oh, it's a thumbs up. He is ready. Okay, here he is. Ladies and gentlemen, I think for your literary and inspirational pleasure this morning, move to write a poem. Give us the backstory, please, Owen. Good morning to you, mate.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, Carl, just reading through the history of April the 25th.
Yeah.
And I actually heard a story from one of the Portuguese teachers I have over here, Isabella. And she was around at the time of the revolution. And it was amazing hearing the story. Obviously, the countless amounts of people that fled the country after the ensued panic that happened, straight after there. So, yes. And also there's another couple of other things. A friend of mine that's been rather depressed for a long while, who has an amazing singing voice, decided that she would make a video of herself singing this morning. So I had lots of things this morning inspire me just to write something. So I did.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, caller, call back. Give Owen a chance to voice this. That'll be, Doug is trying to get through. In fact, I'll answer the call. Doug through to the Iberian FM phone-in. Doug, we're gonna give Owen space here to read his poem, but if I can have you on the line there, is that all right, Doug? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Carl. Absolutely. Carry on.
Cheers, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
So back to you, Owen.
Okay, so it has no title. I've just written it as it is, and
I'm going to give you full screen, mate.
Take it as you will. So, I have come to the conclusion that this life is just an illusion. It is something that I feel. So here is the deal. All my life I have questioned to the max, to hear the truth, to be given the facts. But something went wrong along the way. Bad is good and good is bad. The devil has been elevated whilst God has been berated. Can you see what's going on? How can right be wrong? And so on. You don't need a politician, an actor, a pop star to dictate what's in your life. Think for yourself. Open your eyes. Critically think to see through the lies. Don't just sit back. Wake up. Analyze. That's it.
Thank you, mate. Oh, yes. I think we need a cut and paste on that, buddy. If you can send me that, I'll make sure it gets onto the screen or is available to people in some way or other. Yes, that is moving, poignant. I'd like to read it again. And I think you'll find agreement with what you're talking about there. Let me join you back on the screen. And we've got Dougie coming in as well. Doug, that was great, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Well done, Owen. I love it.
Thank you, Doug.
What did you want to share with us this morning, Doug?
I just wanted to come in on the conversation and see where it leads. I mean, I completely concur with, the notion that people are very swiftly shut down or cancelled or, over, politics generally, and not necessarily just that.
Yes.
Other things as well.
Yeah, and do you find this on a personal level? Actually, I know the answer to that because we were in a. You were a member of the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club, weren't you? And sometimes those conversations used to drift into debates and conversation fueled by Portuguese wine often. And sometimes
my problem in those days was I was in a fine gathering of very maybe not very that puts me in an intolerant viewpoint, doesn't it? But mainly left-wing leaning people. So anything that I said that was contrary to that was pounced upon, wasn't it?
Well, you were the fox in the chicken coop with your accolades for Margaret Thatcher among, as you say, left-leaning Portuguese wine drinkers. So those were some memorable conversations. And I think we have been true to the values of Good Morning Portugal and the Iberian FM Phone-in and agreed to disagree, right? We it's not got eggy, difficult. You haven't been cancelled, I don't think. Here you are speaking.
Never.
Yeah.
The thing is, a lot of the stuff I came out with was done to tease mainly. I didn't mean half the things I said.
Really?
I was just rubbing people up. Oh, I did, yeah.
That's so
because
naughty.
I knew I was going to get a reaction.
Doug!
I've always been a bit like that, to be fair.
I can't believe it. I thought they were heartfelt political. That's why I defended you so fervently in your self-expression. So you're just winding people up. I feel like cancelling you now for doing that. Hey, Owen. Hey, Carl. Bon dia, Owen from Squire.
I've sent you that poem, Carl.
You're getting some great feedback for your beautiful words this morning, Owen. Great, Owen. Some hearts there from Squire of the Shires. Lovely Owen from Sue's. Good one, Owen from Baddie. Excellent Owen from T-Duck. And I think you've got the closest we can get often, I think, with emojis for 3 red carnations there. Heartfelt and well-considered words, Owen. So there you go. We got to share those. Or maybe you'll read it again for us before we finish this morning. Anything else?
That was beautiful.
Cheers, mate. Anything else, Dougie, while you're on? I mean, you are... I would, let me speak freely for a minute with my analysis of you as a man politically. I think you have forthright, right-leaning views. You're quite open about sharing them, and that's, of course, you should be. and somewhat old-fashioned. Would you agree? Because the Ancient Mariner used this term, a little bit old-fashioned. Would you consider yourself a little bit old-fashioned in some of your views? And how's that working?
Absolutely. Do you know what? You're right. My views are
guilty as charged.
Terribly old-fashioned. I haven't moved with the times in many aspects of life, and I've got young children. I've got I've got children in their 20s, and I very often, I get reminded of this. And I have a younger wife; she's 10 years younger than I am. But basically, I find this.
Yes.
I notice this in the jib of our conversations that. Well, she's a lot more progressive than I am in many, many respects. Yeah. So, well done for noticing that. But I didn't realise it came through so strongly.
I mean, in some ways, it's your job to be old-fashioned then. And there are two sides to that. Like I think we've referred to this already, haven't we? How nothing is entirely good or bad, and old-fashioned can be used as a put-down. But actually, the old-fashioned, and I think maybe you've made a reference to this as well, Owen, in what you were writing. It's not all bad, is it? It can be used as a put down, but let's look at what is put down as old fashioned. And instead of a cheap put down, reconsider what might be useful in what has been written off as old fashioned. So on that basis, Doug, what do you think are old fashioned things that you get criticized for that actually might have some use in this world right now?
Well, there's a plethora of things that you could describe as old fashioned, but you can just roll them into one sort of great mass and call it my personality. I'm an old, but basically I'm a crusty old sod. In comparison.
Sod. Okay, you're old fashioned. You're old fashioned personified. There. Well,
there are other things, of course. These put downs and these cancel things come. If you approach certain subjects, usually the darling subjects of what I often described in this day and age as the woke brigade, anything to do with things like such things as environmental issues. If you say anything, if you step out of line or that, you usually get shot down and just things like that.
Isn't that? I mean, what I'd struggle with the woke thing. Oh, and are you happy to stick on screen?
Absolutely, yeah, not a problem.
I think it's awful when people get invited onto the show. They want to go, but they're stuck on the screens. But anyway, you're a grown up. You can tell me anytime you want to go, can't you?
I'm fine. I'm fine with it, Carl. It's good.
I find this woke bashing a little bit difficult as well, because it's almost like the opposite, the mirror image of old fashioned, isn't it? Whilst young people are putting old people who are old-fashioned down as a simple put down. Woke is also a shorthand, isn't it, for dismissing ideas that might be worthy of consideration, even if only to be dismissed. But can you imagine? You must remember what it's like, Doug, to be young, and at the moment, young people who are only just. But if you're told you're woke as a simple put down and an end to all the ideas you want to share with the world, that must be very frustrating. I would have thought.
I would say that's actually. I've never actually called anybody woke, by the way. Into their face. No, I haven't.
Well, you can do it now if you want. If you want to use this platform to do that.
No, I don't know. No, I won't. I'm do
kidding.
That. That's horrible. It's a horrible.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
It's a horrible thing to do. I mean, things like environmental isms. In particular, although I appreciate that these people who talk about this subject are absolutely bang on in what they're actually saying. Yeah. But if you're saying, well, hang on a minute, maybe that's taking it a little bit too far, then you're considered a bit, he's right wing. He's just one of these bloody Nigel Farage supporters.
Oh, I see.
So, shoot him down,
You didn't like people ruining the snooker, and that makes you a far-right extremist.
Well, I mean, Carl, just on that, if I could just say, if we look at the current wokeness, I would be classed as somebody that was far right.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. If we go back to the 70s, if we rewind to the 70s, and I was to say that, listen, address me as a white female what would the reaction be of people going back then? And I think this is
in the
this
70s. Can you imagine?
Escalated into something stupid.
I'd open the door for Owen. I'd open the door for a start.
Because he's an old-fashioned gentleman.
I ain't no Shirley Bassey, Doug. I ain't no Shirley Bassey.
Where are we talking about? Are we talking about down the pub in the 70s on a building site? Where are we talking about?
I can't. I'm trying to picture him as Shirley Bassey now. I don't know.
Don't.
For a moment. Let's bring in a few comments from people. The elephant in the room. Hey, big spender. The elephant in the room. Regarding this,
you're just oiling the wheels.
It's my job. It's my job. The elephant in the room. Regarding this inability to have rational conversations are the various topics surrounding social justice. Grouping it together there, Joel Denort, the accepted thought seems to be entrenched and indisputable. Now, that isn't so interesting, isn't it, on this day especially? If you can't speak of something or you fear being policed about it, we are back to the pre-Carnation Revolution times, aren't we, that people were so keen to get rid of. I would have thought. Ancient Mariner, what has changed is people's willingness to tolerate different perspectives and the vicious unpersoning of those whose views do not align with our own. Every opinion is valuable, even if not valid. Question for you, Ancient Mariner, teeing this up today as you did. Do you think you might be being a little bit too sensitive, though? Having your opinion disliked is not the same as being cancelled. I see quite a lot of that. Do you, Owen? People claiming they've been cancelled. But if they're actually on a screen claiming they've been cancelled, they haven't actually been cancelled.
Exactly that. Exactly. And you do get that all over social media, don't you? And just funny, when he was talking, obviously, with April the 25th and the secret police that was there, we still have that now. I think they call them fact checkers.
We do, but you're not going to get banged up, are you? You're not going to get driven to Spain for a free holiday.
Well, that's funny you should say that, Carl. I was seeing something the other day, and it was a short video that was put on, and it was two gentlemen talking in the room, and it was talking about social media and how it's perceived in different countries. And there was one case where somebody was given a small fine in a country where relatively all this stuff is really picked up on. Let's say Russia. So you say something bad about the government, this person got a fine. Now there was one person that was tagged, put on a curfew, given a fine, and there was about 7 or 8 restrictions given to this person.
Yeah,
and that country was the United Kingdom.
Yep. Well, fair enough. Good point. Well made. Yeah. I mean, that is terrifying, isn't it? Because you're not driven to Spain anymore. Metaphorically, you are kept at home in prison, in your own prison that you have to pay for, and tagged. And if in these worst case scenarios, if we do have, and I'm proper going down the rabbit hole now, but I think I'm among friends who might forgive me and listen to me openly and respectfully. We'll see. But if this is connected to your ability to operate in the world and spend money, for example, digital currency, or exit your 15-minute city, for example, all the things we've criticized China and Russia for are suddenly on our own doorstep, aren't they? I mean, is that conspiracy theory talk, Owen, or do you think that's likely?
Not a chance. I think if you go back, certainly the rabbit hole, I would say I've been down the rabbit hole for at least 17 years. Part of the reason why I'm here in Portugal and left the UK just in time.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. I can't explain it, Carl. It's just one of those bizarre things. Is that I've been in the company of people where things have been talked about, and this person has been scoffed, laughed at, belittled, and yet possibly a couple of months ago, those actual things that were said back then have actually happened. And it's like you were saying, it's like how China is. Things are creeping in slowly. And I think we get, especially on media and social media, is that things are put out there to distract the general public from those issues that are being, put out there without people's knowledge. So it's I don't know. It's a mad and crazy world we live in, but I love Portugal and I'm staying.
All right. Doug, did you want to add to that? 15-minute cities, digital currency as a way of controlling people without having to put them in prison?
I think it's scary when I read these ideas about 15-minute cities and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It frightened me frightens me to death, to be honest. But going back briefly to this cancel culture thing, I blame a lot of it on social media and the internet and stuff, where people these days are able to gather in groups and bounce off one another in ideas wise, and they're all singing up the same hymn sheet, and basically they grow into a sort of a group, if you want to call it that, and anybody who offers any.
When you download the Baker's app, you have easy access to savings every day. Get the most out of weekly sales and receive personalized coupons to save on your favorite items, all while earning 1 fuel point for every $1 spent. Baker's makes it easy to save while you shop, whether it's in-store or online, so you get the most value out of every trip, every time. Download the Baker's app now to save big on your next purchase. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Must have a digital account to redeem offers. Restrictions may apply. See site for details.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Shall we say, opinions that differ from that might not be made to feel welcome, within that sort of, arena.
Yeah, I understand that. Just a bit like us this morning. However, apart from the fact that we would be open to challenge, I think, and as this develops, we'll find out if that's true or not. Cheers, Doug. I think Garvo's trying to call in, one of the people you used to upset in the wine club back in the day, if I remember rightly.
Garvo was always the voice of reason. He always has been and always will be.
Absolutely
and I have great respect for Garvo. And even Andy, who is a self-confessed Marxist, always puts his points over very eloquently, and I respect them too.
Yeah, and you know what? That's what I love about all three of you men that you've mentioned there is we can still talk to each other. We haven't cancelled each other yet, and we can have these conversations. And may I say, as an old-fashioned guy and a would-be elder, a bit too young to be an elder just yet, but you're setting a fine example. You're expressing yourself, and you are not cancelling other people, and still having robust, awkward conversations in the public domain. And today has been a great example. Long may it continue, Doug. Cheers, mate.
Cheers for now.
All right, bye for now. Love to Wales. So the line is open. Garvo, I'd love to have you call back. In fact, I'm going to ring you. That's if you haven't gone out to your field to contemplate. I think you sometimes do. So we've got an outbound call. Are you hearing that ringing, Owen?
I am.
Great. Okay. So that's really good. And we've got some voicemails, I think, that have come in as well. He's declined my call. Maybe he's got fed up and gone to do something else. Ancient Mariner, this is due in part to the explosive growth of social media, but it represents a retrograde. Oh, here he is. A retrograde step in interpersonal relationships. I don't need to agree with an opinion, but I surely do need to respect it. Well said, Ancient Mariner. I don't think anyone would disagree with you there.
Absolutely. He's spot on there, Cal, because
he's bang on. Go on, mate.
People's opinion aren't heard anymore. They're just, dismissed.
Yes.
I think it's time that people, if we all sit down, regardless to what your political views are, what people need to do is actually sit around the table and talk about it rather than putting down what people have said.
Yeah, before they've even heard it in some instances.
Exactly.
Because of the personal attack on what they think about that person, then stops them being open to what that person might be saying. I think that is a real problem of our time. Yeah. On the line, somebody who's very happy to get around a table and talk about things and has even hosted discussions on social media would be the great Garvo, the man of reason. Good morning to you, Gary.
Good morning, everybody. Are you well?
Morning.
Really good, mate. Really good. I'm delighted to be having this conversation because we live in a democracy. What did you want to add to it?
It's just the fact that we're so petrified now to talk outside our own bounds. And really, if you think about it, that's the way you learn. You push into new areas. You learn about different people, different situations. When did we become so scared to learn? We're going to make mistakes. We're human. So let's appreciate the fact that, we learn through our mistakes most of the time. And let's be a bit more forgiving sometimes about, other things, other people, other situations.
Yes.
We're never going to be completely on the mark, but let's just be a bit more forgiving, for God's sake.
Well said. There he is. That's why they call him the man of reason, isn't it, Owen?
Absolutely.
When did you notice this begin to change, Garvo? Because I think we know when Owen put that situation to us, that he would like to be referred to as a white female. And if he'd said that in some of the workplaces that I think I remember you talking about in the 1970s, it's not like he'd have been ridiculed. It just wouldn't have computed, would it? People wouldn't have really kind of understood it. What do you see as a trajectory, Gary, of this way of thinking, and why has it got the way it is?
I think if I had to sort of put an empirical moment on it, it was probably somewhere around the 90s.
Okay.
I noticed a change in that sort of behaviour. And remember, that was a time of great sort of change.
Yes.
Politically, financially, socially, whatever. But my answer to that is if that is the way that Owen wants to identify himself, that's his prerogative, that's his right. But it's also somebody else's prerogative to perceive him in the way that they see him. Whether there's a right or wrong in either of them, but it's each other's right. And as long as you respect each other's rights to do that, it will be fine.
And it might be a little bit sort of romanticized, but going back to the 70s, as I recall it, and what people refer to as a British sense of fair play and justice, it would be. I think you would have been received with a mixture of jeering and gentle Mickey taking and acceptance. That's Britain on a good day, isn't it? It's like, okay, Owen wants to be referred to as a white woman. I don't know if that's how you put it, or identify as. And there would be people making jokes about that, having fun about that, and also saying, well, okay, if that's what you want to do, that's what we'll do, sweetheart. And it would have been robust, wouldn't it? And is that what you're talking about, Garva? How it can be that person, everyone gets their needs met, don't they? It's like, I'm not being made to accept you. I'm using my own sense of fair play to accept you. And I've got I might have my own challenges about it, but I'm not going to let them get in the way or make it disrespectful or illegal.
Think about it this way, right? I've always theorized this a lot, that when people come across something unusual or they haven't encountered it before, they tend to test it out to see what that would mean. Is it a threat? Is it, can I eat it? Whatever. It's primeval behavior where we do a series of tests. And then once you've established what it is, then you can sit and deal with it and, be a bit more logical. And yes, of course, you'd run the gauntlet of all the Mickey taking and the jokes, but it would settle down in the end, and people would accept. It's just time.
Yeah.
I think things have changed over the years as well. I mean, I've spoke to Garvo about this many a time. We've spoke about in UK television, the Alf Garnets and the TV programs that were on at the time. Yeah. Everybody accepted it. There was never a Mary Whitehouse experience with those sorts of programs. Everybody took those programs and everybody had their own opinions about it. You would hear people, I certainly wasn't old enough, but surely you would hear people talk about these programs in the pubs, but it was never about how political it was. It was about how funny it was. Yes. Life is funny. Life is humorous. And if you take it that way, everything's good in my eyes. And things have changed. I mean, over the years, those programs will never be shown on terrestrial television again because it hurts people. People are insulted over it. Whereas I look back at those programs and I have a chuckle because it was a true reflection of how life was back then. But if you were to show them now, I don't think the program would last until the first break with the amount of complaints that the woke crew would ring in and complain about.
And there would only be 30 people watching, wouldn't there? We're not living in the age of mass TV anymore on broadcast, are we? These will all be niche things, niche discussions. But I think you're absolutely right on that. Standards, funny enough, those disinformation labels emblazoned across my profiles later proved to be true, and no retraction or boosting of my profile's business page is dead on arrival, missing in action. Still, no apology from Facebook then, Mrs. M. It was such a strange time to hear community members suggest we, questioners, should be rounded up by the police, army and locked up, treated forcibly. Yes, there are still a few apologies outstanding, I think, aren't there here? But we were just following the science. We're in trouble now. Fortunately, he's here and he wants to be on the screen. Garvo, are you sticking around, or have you got to go out to a field somewhere to contemplate the beauty of nature?
No, I'm not going to hog the microphone. I'm going to let somebody else come in and give their point of view.
So good to hear from you, mate. So, did you have a nice birthday at the weekend?
I did, yes. I had a lovely birthday.
Belated birthday best and love from us all at Good Morning Portugal, our family to yours as well, and everyone, the Gumpers, wishing you a beautiful day and belated birthday best, mate. Thanks for calling in.
Cheers, gents.
All right, cheers.
Bye.
Applause for him. Uh-oh. Talk about old-fashioned. Lord Gilchrist is here. All rise. Right.
Order. I've actually got the voice today for being a speaker of the house. You might hear I'm a little hoarse.
You're not a little horse.
Nay, lad.
Right. Before we get into what you want to talk about, can you hear this?
Carl, good morning. Good morning, everybody else on the phone-in. Owen, thank you sincerely for those wonderful words. I wish I had the ability to phrase things and express them in that way. On the topic of wokeness, cancel culture, I think the problem is one of perspective. When we look back now at things which 49 years ago, in 1974, were topical, acceptable, normal, they look very strange now. And of course, the current generation look down their noses at us without realizing that in another 49 years' time, some of the things we do now and are entirely socially acceptable will be outrageous. And some of the things which are taboo now will be absolutely mainstream. And I think we and every other generation have been guilty of failing to put things in perspective in the greater scheme of things.
Oh, well said, sir. That was good, wasn't it? And so
Absolutely.
One day I will receive a social validation from my macrame bikini. Oh, just the bottom part. I don't wear the top. Lord Gilchrist, adult tantrum, wokeism or wokiness. Is that right?
Sometimes it feels a bit like a tantrum thrown by a grown adult. I'm exaggerating, of course. Obviously points from people are valid. I don't have to agree with everyone. Particularly the older you get, you kind of know your own mind. But again, as the last caller message said, like in 49 years' time, things that we do will be considered out of date, outrageous. And I think that's just a thing you could look back over history, and see examples all across history, like the poorhouse prisons in the UK, debtors' prisons. Being in prison because you're poor is shocking to think, but that was the done and accepted thing back then, wasn't it? So, God only help us if they bring back debtors' prisons these days. Everyone in the world will be locked up, wouldn't they?
Or you could say, as some wits and sages do, that there's no need for a prison because we're all living in an open one, where we pay for our own accommodation, own uniforms, and own food, and that's a lot cheaper than running Her Majesty's institutions. Okay, Obi's here. I'll come back to you in just a moment, Owen and Andy. In the US, a major political party refuses to have any rational discussion about gun violence, and they proudly fly swastikas. All of them, Ubi. I am sensing a little bit of I don't know, what is it, poetic license, and this tends to happen when the American parties. It's easy for us Brits here, isn't it, chaps, to look at the American politics and think, oh dear. But when it sounds there like all of those people in that political party all proudly fly swastikas. I've not seen that. I love sitting by the campfire, says Ubi, holding hands and singing Kumbaya. And so you should. When people at the campfire consistently show me what and who they are, I believe them. That is to say, when a fascist consistently gaslights and deliberately argues in bad faith, rational discussion is impossible. How common is it, though, Ubi? I want to know. The only good news is that the US fascists, many of whom proudly embrace that moniker, are sharpening their knives against each other. Okay, interesting. And there's always a little turn, I find, when Americans talk about American politics. I feel slightly uncomfortable. Is that because I'm British, Lord Portuglish?
Yeah, I think we watch in with bemusement and wonder, don't we, as outsiders to that system? I do. I certainly do. And I've got I've got the artifact baseball caps here in my office.
For God's sake, don't put that on.
No. It's artifacts. I have it as a piece of memorabilia, like
Yes.
like a sports jersey. But I think we do watch on in bewilderment sometimes at the rest of the world, because England is our own little goldfish bowl, and we look out for it, and the whole world looks big and shiny and different. Yep. And also, we don't have exactly the domestic politics to shout about, do we? So, but I think American politics is something I'm not very eager to comment on. One, because I don't know much about it, and two, it seems like also the UK, it's kind of bipartisan kind of thing, but with the same
next level. To the next level, absolutely, and it's very emotional.
The same kind of manifesto, really, isn't it? So
yes. Well, let's save a big old Democrat and Republican ding dong for another day, because that's a can of worms. Time out there, but only to come back to a comment of yours, and maybe this is where we could conclude today, as we kind of celebrate the fact that we are Portugal have moved from a dictatorship to a democracy on this special day in history. And then keeping an eye on the horizon, what's coming in another 49 or 50 years. You said earlier on, the UK is really turning into a police state, Andy. So do you believe that to be the case? And what can we do about it? I'm sure Owen's got something to say about this. You first, Lord Gilchrist.
Is the UK turning into a police state?
Yes.
It has been for decades. But it's like anything. Is it going to improve? Is it going to get better? No, it's not. Because there's money in their hills. If you go to any small town, any large metropolis in the UK, you are tri-located on 3 CCTV cameras. So your exact GPS position can be watched, tracked, radioed in. And so, it is really Big Brother is watching you in the UK. And
to be fair, all those CCTV cameras have brought crime down drastically, haven't they?
Right. I'd like to see your stats on that.
I was trying to do sarcasm really loudly there.
Right.
I hope
Okay.
it got through, yeah.
Right. No, I don't think it's really had anything other than it can observe and watch, and it can even be for things. Like I was driving in London once, and I was in a renter van. Long story short, basically, I had to get across. What's it called? Hammersmith. It's got a big interjunction with the flyover, the North Circular flyover bit there. Anyway, trying to get down towards the river, and I had to enter a box junction, which I was in this van. I couldn't get out of it. I had the tail hanging over it, and on camera they watched me. And within a week, I was fined for literally having no road space apart from to hang the tail of this van into a box junction. Now, okay, it seems a bit petty. Sort of thing, I didn't block the junction, right? People could have got around.
Yes, exactly. Exactly the same thing. I was in a yellow box.
It was watching the roads to basically put a stealth tax on me and money making. For no reason other than it's not like I was breaking the law.
No crime there. No
really
foul.
Crime. I wasn't like jamming up the entire interjunction, and so I was thinking this is only going to get more and more scrutinized, isn't it? Your daily actions can be tracked. You've got facial recognition. You've got all this kind of technology. For why? And it's control, like you said. It's a leveraging fines and tariffs on the public stealth taxes and raising revenues. And I don't like it. At least, thank God, in Portugal, there's that law here where you're not even allowed to film in public or have a dash cam on your car because it's not admissible. It's not a legal thing. So
there's a good bit of information. So whilst we are celebrating today, Freedom Day, you fear that in the post, in our native UK, things are getting worse, and we're heading to not the sort of dictatorship that historically, and
it's an autocracy more than a dictatorship.
But certainly not about freedom, liberty, and the great things of being a human being.
No, they sell it as, oh, isn't it cute and lovely, and isn't it old, and how lovely nothing's changed. But it's because basically they want to try and maintain this idea of like cute old England. But the reality is, cute old England is a shocking Yeah, notice the Brit Cop Show always reference CCTV. Yeah, it's everywhere. And
it's actually only for that. All the CCTV cameras are owned by media companies who use it for footage for TV shows. It's not used in courts or anything like that.
It's hardwired to all police stations. There's a whole network. My friend who worked in local government basically was an engineer and helped consult with the police to install all of these systems. The layered design. It was his job. He was like, "Oh, this would make the town."
It was just his job. Those words. It was just my job.
I was just following orders.
Yes, exactly.
But as Owen said earlier, the biggest sort of prosecutor of opinions and social media is the UK. Compared to the rest of the world, it's probably more strict than Russia or the States or anywhere else.
And still, it has the Russian and Chinese bogeyman, doesn't it? To say, oh, it could be worse. We could be living like those people, which is true on one level, but not when you're.
I really wish we could hold a mirror up to somewhere like England and go, "This is what is coming to you lot if you don't pay attention." And I think this is why a lot of people leave the UK for these reasons. Certainly, I didn't feel that particularly free or had liberties in the UK, particularly in COVID. They pulled the lockdown in after it was too late. There was no point for it.
Again, it's a bit going into the pandemic now. Might be a bit like
no. But it's an example of the.
I agree, and we will return to it. We will return to it. I thank you for being here. Last words then to our great writer, as it turns out this morning, of inspirational words, Owen. What do you think about the UK becoming a police state or similar, Owen?
Well, that's the reason why I'm here in Portugal.
Right.
I could see things changing. I mean, like I say, I used to be a civil servant. I worked for the UK government, and I saw things changing within my own job role. I was a national trainer. So when I saw things changing, I knew it was time to leave, or at least have the chance to leave the country. But just on one thing, just going back to that, is that I do believe that now is the time that, because we have so many complaints about our prime ministers, our presidents, and everything else. Now is the time that we reclaim our power back and we decide how we are going to live.
Very good. What a brilliant note to nearly end on, because we have Philomena joining us. But now is the time to reclaim our sovereignty.
Philomena, Tuesday.
Bom dia, alegria.
Bom dia to you, Philomena. Tonight, I am so looking forward to your company. What can we expect with your friends Elena and Senor Lorenzo tonight?
Well, first of all, I would like to say hello to these three handsome men on the screen.
Hello.
I'm blushing, Philomena. I'm blushing.
That's a love thy neighbour joke.
And it's not a joke. And yes, tonight with Elena and you are blushing, Owen. Owen. Well, so yes, Elena and Carlos. So it's another Carlitos. So Elena Duarte, Carlos Lourenço, and I am just a translator, because it's a good practice for you. Yes. If you want to listen to some Portuguese tonight.
Yeah.
So they are going to speak in Portuguese because, Carlos Lourenço just speaks Portuguese. Elena speaks a little bit of English, but she doesn't feel confident enough. So they want me to translate. So it's a good opportunity for you to listen to Portuguese and then the English translation, as best as I can.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Thank you so much for making it happen, Philomena. So that's tonight, 8 o'clock on this channel, 25th of April, Coronation Revolution special. Elena Duarte, Carlos Lourenço, and our very own Philomena here, who's on the line at the moment. Thank you so much for organising that. Look forward to seeing you then, Philomena.
Yep. Yes, yeah. See you.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you so much, Philomena.
Enjoy the day. Enjoy the holiday.
Day of freedom. Lovely big round of applause for you.
Ciao.
Oh, João de Norte is here as well. How about that? Sorry, nothing personal here, João de Norte, but we've got to finish on our call here. Our special Iberian FM extended edition today, talking about celebrating the democracy that Portugal found for itself. It wasn't an easy journey, but it was certainly better than the dictatorship they had experienced up until that point on this very day, 25th of April, back in 1974. Cheers, Andy. Cheers, Owen. We'll
see you in 4 days.
I'll be sending those around on Facebook. Yes, T-4. We'll see you soon up in Pontelima, and we'll play out with the Iberian FM phone-in. Join us again tomorrow for another debate. Should we go into American politics? I don't know. No, don't go there. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
When you download the Baker's app, you have easy access to savings every day. Get the most out of weekly sales and receive personalized coupons to save on your favorite items, all while earning 1 fuel point for every $1 spent. Baker's makes it easy to save while you shop, whether it's in-store or online, so you get the most value out of every trip, every time. Download the Baker's app now to save big on your next purchase. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Must have a digital account to redeem offers. Restrictions may apply. See site for details.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.